Hi guys, Artiar here. So for this video, we're looking at Etheria Start SSR unit. Who should you actually invest your Lattice on tier list? So this tier list here, I'll be breaking down into their performance mainly on PvE because PvP is a little bit more complicated, depends on what kind of playstyle, what kind of unit you want to use, then have different kind of priority for different player, right? So for this one here is mainly for PvE content that how they actually perform. So for example, if that unit needed like skill 1 to be max or probably skill 3 to be max, then they will be ranked by their own ranking. So this tier list here will be breaking down into 4 parts. So it's either max off, which means every single circle you want to max it out, or probably max 2, or max 1, or no skill up. So if I rank the unit at no skill up, doesn't mean that they are bad. It's probably they just work perfectly fine without any skill up at all. Then max 1 here is if you can invest in that character in probably like S1 or S2 or S3 to be max, will have the full potential in PvE content. Alright, so I'll be breaking down and I hope you actually enjoy the video or probably get some information that you actually need to invest on them, because Lattice is the most precious thing in Etheria Start. You don't really want to waste them, especially they're not going to rerun any reset event soon. So spend wisely and invest on the correct character. Alright, so this tier list here is more towards the PvE part. So the first one is going to be Holden. So Holden here, in my opinion, I will recommend you to max 1 skill, which is going to be the max S3. So if we take a look at Holden here, I've been using Holden in a lot of content, especially when you want a Dispeller unit. Holden is a very good Dispeller unit, not to mention he can apply resist down and attack down, which makes your content a lot more safer. So why would I say max 1? It's not totally max out 1 skill, it's basically your S3 here, if you can, invest until level 3. Because it will highly increase the chance, basically by half if not mistaken, the chance of dispelling, and also the chance of applying the attack down and resist down is higher. So the main purpose for Holden is to dispel and apply resist down and attack down. So this plays a very important role, especially you're using him in Tormenton or any dispelling unit, then you kind of want to go for at least at level 3 to get the higher chance of dispelling. The skill up here is good, but not really a must, but at least go for level 3 so you have a higher chance for dispelling and attack down and resist down. You can actually debate like you don't really need skill up, but in my opinion, go for max 1 is good because higher chance of dispelling makes your run a lot more consistent. Then the next one is going to be Rosa. Rosa here, I will recommend you to go for max 2. Max S1 and S2. So for my Rosa here is a fail example, because you don't really need to max her S3, but I did went for her S3 the moment when I get Rosa when I started the game. Because when I started the game, I spent my targeted banner on Rosa, which is actually a bad choice. Not saying Rosa is bad, just that I did not have Kloss in my account, so I actually should get Kloss, not Rosa, and that time I actually fully invested on Rosa because I want to use her everywhere, right? So you should not max your S3 at the time. You should actually go for S1 and S2 first. But S2 and S3 is also not a bad choice because the CD reduction here make your turn rotation better with Revelation, but that's not the main point. For Rosa, to be honest, you kind of want to invest at S1 for higher damage from the S1, and most importantly is the S2. S2 have the highest priority to invest. You want a 100% to follow up damage, for a 100% chance to follow up, and then your S1 here will be the main damage, so you need to actually S1 to be max. Then for S3 here, to be honest, not really needed, but at that time when I started the game, I wanted Rosa to synergize with the Revelation, so I want the CD reduction and the Revelation cooldown is actually at the same turn, so I invested on S3. But because of this, I might actually want to invest on Rosa S1 to be max. But in an honest way, I would say Rosa go for S2 and S1 will be a better choice. So only go for max 2. You don't have to go and max R, but for my case, I need to go for max R. So in my opinion, if you want to go for Rosa, S1 and S2 is the highest priority thing. S2 first, then go for S1. Okay, then the next one is going to be Helkid. Helkid here, in my opinion, go for max 1, which is his S3, but only if you are thinking about going using Helkid in a lot of content. So Helkid here is a good unit that if you want to play a stall team, for example in Tormenton, you want it to be your team to be tanky, then Helkid S3 here brings a pretty good value because the shield here is a shield that can also apply a grants you immunity. So the shield is a shield plus immunity at the same time. So if you max out your S3, means you rotate your S3 faster, so you're no longer going to be 5 turn. And then the barrier is also going to be higher. So instead of 200%, you can get 240%. But personally, I'm not using Helkid in my content currently. So I'm not scaling him up. But if you really want to go Helkid, I think the highest priority will be going for S3, and max 1 is actually good enough. Okay, then the next one is Kloss. So Kloss here is actually ranked at max 2, but if you don't have the Lattice, you can actually go for no skill up. Kloss can actually totally work in no skill up, but I will rank Kloss at max 2. That's one reason. It's because Kloss, I don't know if you guys know it, because I don't have Kloss, but Agni actually told me that Kloss have actually one very special skill up, which is the S1 here, can increase your head-in value by another 5%. Which means originally you can only get increased damage taken by 20% and the decreased damage dealt by 35%. So with your Kloss S1 to be max, is mostly not because of the multiplier, it's because increase all the effect value in head-in by 5%. So instead of damage taken 20%, you're going to increase up to 25%, then the damage dealt by the boss is 35%, reduced down to 40%. So the 5% here plays a very important role because it's a 5% multiplier. It increases your final damage by 5% and your damage dealt by 40%. The boss damage dealt by 40%. So this 5% value actually goes in very high. But so Kloss here is either you don't invest at all, or either you go for S1 and S3. S3 here is for the higher chance to apply defend down and speed down and hacking progress to 100% instead of some RNG. That also reduce the S1, the cooldown by 1 turn, because the most important thing about Kloss is the S3 debuff. So in my opinion here, S3 is worth to skill up and S1 here is worth to skill up. But if you don't want to skill up, it's totally fine. Kloss doesn't need to skill up to be work, but S2 here brings a 2 skill up max to be S1 and S3 actually brings a big value. So in my opinion, I will put Kloss at max 2, which is S1 and S3. So for SSania, it's going to be max 1. So SSania here, if you're a SSania player, you already know why we want to S1 to be max, because the increase the duration of DOT inflicted by passive to 2 turns. So instead of 1 turn of DOT, you're going to extend it to 2 turns. It will be good because every turn they take their DOT, it will proc DOT damage. So basically it's a free DOT stack here, and also the chance of DOT increased to 100%. So this here actually gives a very good consistent amount of RNG for you to apply the DOT. So if you are playing a SSania team, you don't want the RNG to apply the DOT. You want the DOT to be longer and consistent. So S1 for SSania plays a very important role. So that's why it's going for max 1. So for Borghe here, I'm not saying that Borghe is going to be bad, just that in Borghe in PvE, not too much of a usage. I know there's specific content you can actually use Borghe to like cheese out the content, but in the majority cases, if I have the Lattice and the same amount of Lattice than everyone, I will actually invest on them rather than Borghe, unless you also want to want to play PvE and PvP at the same time. You don't want to reinvest on PvP unit, then probably you want to invest on him. But in this tier list here, it's more towards PvE. In my opinion, I won't really want to skill him up in PvE content. Okay, then the next one is going to be Freya. So Freya here, I know Freya is very good, and she's so good that she doesn't need any skill up at all. Alright, like if you want to skill her up, it's fine, but you can see here the Nightmare is only 25% chance increase to 30% chance. Not too much of a difference, usually is either a land or no. So in terms of RNG chance, it's not really that high. Multiplier wise doesn't matter on Freya. Freya is not going to do DPS. Increase the damage boost and healing effect from to 15%. Originally it's 12%, you increase up to 15%, so the value is only 3%. So increase a 3% more healing amount and 3% more damage. So in my opinion, you don't really need to go until the S3 max, because the value isn't that high. Like for example, Kloss 1 is 5%. This one here is only 3%. It's not worth the Lattice. The other skill up here as well is not really that needed for the Lattice. So overall, Freya here, no skill up is already working perfectly fine for almost every single content that you're gonna use Freya in. Okay, so no skill up, but doesn't mean that Freya is bad. Okay, then the next one is going to be Ling Luo. Ling Luo here is going to be max S1. So if you're a player that you have been grinding Aurora, you already know why Ling Luo S1 is so good, because the duration of wheel prayer. So the wheel prayer here, instead of 1 turn, it's gonna be 2 turn. So more wheel prayer can be stacked on that unit, and that unit can keep on getting healing proc from the wheel prayer here. It works perfectly fine for every single content, especially in Aurora, that needs you a lot of heal. So the S1 heal increase your healing effect, increase the chance of purify and apply wheel prayer, and increase the wheel prayer duration is very, very important. Then if you're a Ling Luo lover, probably you can go for like S3 here to increase the boost amount, but most importantly is just the max S1 here to apply the wheel prayer. So at max 1 tier. So for Tiamat here, in terms of PvE, I will say no skill up. Like usually when you use Tiamat, it's going to be PvP content. Then in PvE wise, I will say Tiamat probably you're going to use her in like, let's say Doki Doki to apply an amount of shield. But there's a lot more other better unit that can replace Tiamat. Like for example, if you want to go for shield, why not you go for other unit like Valerian to apply like shield amount. You can go for Chucky the God to apply immunity and defend up for tankiness for your team. Overall, you don't really need Tiamat to be skill up to be used in PvE. If you want to use PvE, without the skill up shield is also working fine. So overall, I will say Tiamat, if you are going for PvP, you definitely want to skill her up. But in terms of PvE, there's not really a lot of content to use Tiamat, and not really needed the skill up for clearing the PvE content. Okay, then the next one is Doki Doki. Doki Doki is going for the no skill up. Doki Doki skill up is even better, but not skilling Doki Doki up is already doing fine. So Doki Doki here, the S1 here gives you the chance of getting the backup to 100%, but 75% is actually high enough. Then Purify flag go to 3 debuff instead of 2 debuff, but in my overall cases, 2 debuff is actually good enough for your most content. Then the S2 here increase the data stream stack amount, which is good for extra damage and extra speed. So if you want to debate, like if you are actually using Doki Doki in a lot of content, you want some min-maxing stats like damage deal and speed up, Doki Doki S2 and S3 is actually pretty good. Turn meter push increase, the backup stack able to get is higher, the skill cooldown is good. Every single thing in Doki Doki Lattice investment is actually very good. But you don't need to skill up her to be that good. Alright, so if you want to use Doki Doki, no skill up is totally fine. But if you want her to min-maxing stuff in your PvE content, probably doing more consistent or higher stuff, then you can consider S2 and S3 to be skill up. But for currently, when I'm making this video, I don't think Doki Doki need any skill up at all to be actually good. So Doki Doki, you can actually debate like max 2 or no skill up. So in my opinion, for majority cases, Doki Doki, no skill up works perfectly fine. Everything is already working there, because for example, Holden here, you want to dispel the boss, so the RNG chance is higher the better. But Doki Doki here is more about for your team. It's just about, do you want Doki Doki to rotate her turn faster, or the buff providing better, or else most of the time Doki Doki is already working as intended. Then for Rilmocha here, it's going to be max 1. So if you're a Rilmocha player, you already know why you want to max 1. It's because you want to max the S3 to have a higher multiplier and also the splash damage here. So you can splash damage and just instantly one-shot away from Doki Doki. Then that's one of the main reason. If you're using Rilmocha and you invested on her S3, the main reason you want to use that is going to be the Doki Doki splash damage, right? So max 1, and it's going to be max at your S3. Then for Massiah. Massiah here, you can debate like max 2 or probably max all. But if you're gonna max invest in Massiah, just go all in. Alright, cause Massiah can be used in every single content in PvE, and since you're gonna invest that high already, why not just invest all? Cause the S3 here, I think mainly people invest on Massiah is for her S3, for his S3 to ignore the damage passive, increase the multiplier, and also the defense ignore amount. S3 is gonna be max. If you're a Massiah player, you are definitely gonna max his S3. Then probably you're gonna max his S2 as well to increase the damage multiplier for single target. Then probably you are considering like max S1. But this S1 here is more towards for PvP of inflicting the vulnerable thing, and also PvE as well. Then if you're already gonna invest in S3, and then if you're using Massiah in every single content, then might as well max his S1 and S2 for PvE, because he can kind of replace in every single DPS position in every single content if you have a max Massiah. So why not you just gonna max out Massiah since he need the every single stats he needed anyway. So I would put him at max all instead of max 2. Okay, then the Tsukiyomi. Tsukiyomi here is going for max 1. So for playing Tsukiyomi, probably you want a buff, and most importantly for Tsukiyomi is actually the turn meter push. So if you are going to for Tsukiyomi, your S3 here, the turn meter push here and the CD reduction actually plays a very important role. So instead of the targeted ally by 60%, it's going to be 100%, which means instantly a bonus turn for that ally. It's basically going to be a Lily S2. Lily S2 here provides you at instantly the turn, right, when you have the twin trick. Then for Tsukiyomi here, if you skill her up, will instantly give you a turn meter push by 100%. Basically, it's gonna be another additional turn for the DPS unit. And then she also turn meter push herself, CD reduction to 4 turn. So S3 here plays a very important role. So if you want to further invest in Tsukiyomi, but that's not really needed, then you can probably consider for the S1 for additional turn meter push for that highest attacker. So basically works like Lily, but it's a lower version of Lily, but works differently because she can also apply attack up and speed up. So it's a replacement of Lily, and then if you want to make her to good, at least max her S3 to be better for the turn meter pushing. Okay, then the next one is going to be Lian. Hoyan. So Hoyan here, if you're going to use her, then she will go to the max all. But if you're not going to use Hoyan, she will be at no skill up. She is a unit that actually relies a lot in the Lattice investment. Like for example, if you watch one of my previous video here, I posted before, if you want to use Hoyan in Tormenton, you kind of want to invest a lot Lattice on her because she needs every single damage boost he can apply in her S3. She needs her passive here to trigger stuff and increase the damage boost as well. She needs her S1 because of the attack stats to actually nuke the target. So in terms of PvE, I think someone actually used Hoyan in Tormenton speed clear, and then I think someone actually used Hoyan in Doki Doki as well. So let's say Tormenton, in terms of speed clear, you can still see here, like Hoyan here in performance in terms of speed clearing. And in terms of for them to speed clear, you will see the investment is actually very high. Alright, the investment is actually pretty high. So in my opinion, if you want to play Hoyan, you can probably go for like max or probably max 2, somewhere here. Alright, depends on your value, but okay, on second thought probably at max 2, not until like max all, but it's still important to have Hoyan to have invested. Okay, then the next one, Rahu, is going to be max 2. So in PvE content, if you're going to use Rahu, then it will be a stall team. For example, Regokutsu, you will see Rahu performance and it's actually skill up. So Rahu here, you kind of want to skill up at max 2, right? You want to max the S2 and then you want to max the S1. So the S1 here is the main DPS output of the Rahu because Rahu can keep on assisting damage to the target, right? And then the S2 here increase the chance of getting the Rough, so you can keep on getting more Rough stack to increase its defense and then transferring debuff and then do more damage as well. You're gonna sacrifice the Rough stack to assist the ally to transfer extra 1 debuff, right? So getting higher chance to get the stack is important. Getting the stack at the start of the combat is important, so you can instantly like do stuff already and assist. And your main DPS output is through your S1, so S1 multiplier is important. The chance of defend down is also important. And if you're a Rahu enjoyer that also want to use Rahu in PvP, you can consider its S3 as well, because the extra stack of the rough stack can be gotten and the damage multiplier here as well. But overall, max S2 because you can get the additional defense stat as well, and the main DPS output is through S1, so you're gonna max out your S1 as well. So for Rahu here, it's gonna be max 2, max your S2 and S1. Okay, then for Lily, it's the same thing, it's gonna be max 2. So if you're a Lily player, you already understand that you want Lily S1 to be max to have the assist chance to be 100%. You don't want RNG here. You want the assist is always going to be consistent, it's going to be 100%, and then the turn meter push as well, increase the amount. So S1 is the first thing you want to max in Lily. Then the other thing about Lily skill is going to be the S2, increase the turn meter push you're able to provide through the twin trick, increase the duration turn and reduce the skill cooldown so you can spam more S2. Spend more S2 means more bonus turn for the target, more buff for the team, and then you can do more assists for the team as well. So for Lily here, the high priority will be S1 to S2, so you want to kind of max 2. Alright, so Lily is at the max 2. Then for Xiada here is going for max 2 as well. So for Xiada, if you are using a Xiada in, for example, like Doki Doki, for Aurora, or for train content, you want X2 and S3 to be max. So S3 is a main DPS output because when you have S3, when you have the max passive, you don't really need S1 anymore. You don't really use S1 as well. You only use your S3 spam. So S3 is a main multiplier damage. And then your passive here is the damage boost for your Xiada. Because your S2 here give you additional boost, your S2 here also give you additional crit damage and give you some base crit rate as well. So if you're using Xiada, for example, Doki Doki, you probably is going to max your S2 and S3 for the maximum damage output. Okay, then the next one will be Khloros. So Khloros here will be max 2. So max 2 is Khloros S1 and S2. So S3. So I don't have Khloros, I have to come here. So based on Acne, which is my friend here actually using Khloros a lot, S3 here is because of the damage multiplier. So if you're using Khloros to like clear shell bosses and use Khloros to clear Aurora, for example, then Khloros here S3 multiplier plays a very important role, and the skill damage here plays a very important role. For example, Rosa plus Khloros to clear Aurora. Every S3 his cast can increase the multiplier. The multiplier here is important. This one doesn't matter, right? This one doesn't matter. But what matters is the level 2, level 3, and level 4. The multiplier here matter because this is the main DPS output from Khloros. Sorry, not S1, S2. S2 here is because of this. The chain lock here increase your damage deal with your S3. So when Khloros attack a target, his damage deal increase by 30%. Cause if you increase the S2 skill effect, it will increase the damage amount. So when you apply this S3 Doom Toll, and then you manage to apply chain lock, then you can keep on using your S3 damage on the boss, and it also further increase your damage to the boss. So the chain lock here plays an important role as well. So if you want to use Khloros, probably you want to go for S3 level 4. Then for the debuff here, you kind of want to go for something like S level 3 or level 4. You don't really need the 3 turn, but level 3 and level 4 here plays a good role because 100% chance of landing the chain lock, and then the level 2 here increase the final damage damage increase is also plays an important role. That's the reason why Khloros is at max 2. Then for Veronika here going to max 1. Alright, so if you are using Veronika, for example, you're gonna use Veronika as a dispeller in Terramaton, then Veronika here, this one plays an important role. Here, buff steal. Okay, increase the chance of stealing the buff to spread to your ally, plays an important role. So you can consider Veronika as a dispeller, and only 60% chance to steal and 65% chance to spread. So after you skill it up, it's a 100% chance to spread and then 80% chance to buff steal. So if you're using Veronika in Terramaton, you have an 80% chance to steal the immunity and a 100% chance to spread the immunity for your team. So if your team is going to get the immunity. So if you're using Veronika, S3 here comes in very important to make things consistent. Okay, then for Celine. Celine here doesn't need skill up to be good. So if you're using Celine, for example, for Shadow Flame Hoyan, Celine's skill is already needed for everything, unless you want the RNG chance. But I don't really think you need it, is because Celine's gonna hit 4 hit. Every hit here have 20% chance to land the debuff. Okay, so it's a 20% chance 4 times. It's not like 2 times or 3 times, it's 4 times. So most of the time, you are able to land the attack down and forgetfulness because it's 4 hit. Then if you skill it up, it's going to be 30%, which makes things more consistent, right? But overall, I don't think you need the 10% chance since the 4 hit here usually is going to be consistent. Then the passive here is just the amount of shield you're able to get and the amount of shield you're able to reflect. Not really that important. Mostly you're using Celine here is for the forgetfulness debuff. So overall, you don't really need the skill ups in even though you're using her for Shadow Flame Hoyan. So I will say no skill up. Then the next one is going to be Mew. So Mew here, I will say no skill up. But if you're using Mew as like speed running in Doki Doki, then probably you want to skill up. Depends on your usage on Mew. Why would I say no skill up? Is because, so let's say in Doki Doki, The only place you will see Mio is going to be speed clear. Let me scroll down a little bit. Like somewhere here, you will see Mio here as speed clear is going for the level 4 for the additional speed, and then the level 5 here for additional chance to steal meter and spread the thing. Alright, but most of the time, at most content now, you won't really see Mio other than Doki Doki speedrun. Alright, you still see some Mio here, but you can see Doki Doki speedrun doesn't need Mio now, and most of the recent clear here doesn't need Mio as well. So overall content, I will say Mio doesn't need it in PvE already, unless you're going to talk about PvP. But in PvE here, there's not a lot of content for Mio to shine now. Even in, for example, like Nico Nana, for example, previously before the nerf, we kind of need the Mio to speed up our team, right? But after Nico Nana actually nerf for 2 times already, I will not actually invest my Lattice on Mio because there's not a lot of PvE content needed for Mio. Unless you're going to use Mio in PvP, that will be a different case. Then the next one is going to be Lilith. Lilith here depends on your usage. For most cases in PvE, there's not really a lot of usage for Lilith unless you're using, for example, like Amber Track. For example, you are using in the Ethernet Rally or PvP content that is more a niche unit. Right, I know that some players using Lilith in PvP is actually very annoying, but for this tier list here is mainly focused on PvE, because if you can't clear PvE, you can't even do PvP. So for Lilith here, she will be good for PvP and some certain content you want to have an infinity stun, right? Because Lilith kit here, mostly people is gonna use her is because of the CC unit. It's a very consistent stun, and most of the time, you don't really need her to clear content. And probably players who are using her is going to be in PvP content. So in my opinion, don't really skill her up for PvE, just based on my own usage, right? Then the next one is going to be Beyontin. So Beyontin here is no skill up because most of the cases when you use Beyontin is speed running and you don't really need the skill up at all. So if we look at Beyontin here, S3 here, increase the HP recovery after you trigger the Underworld Flower, which is the revive. Increase the number of Underworld Flower. I would say all these things here is more towards for PvP. Then the CD reduction here, increase some additional HP for her. When applied to a dev unit, reduce the skill CD by 1 turn. It's more towards for PvP as well. Increase the reduce the skill CD to 2 turn. It's also more towards for PvP. Because most of the time when you're using Beyontin in the PvE content, it's about speed running. And if you're doing a speed running content, you don't really make your unit die. So you don't really need the effect of S3 and S2 at all. So let's say you're doing a speed run content. Let's say in Shell Drop here. Let's say, for example, Nico Nada speed run. Do you really need the Beyontin? I don't know why he scaled this up because this is a dead unit, but I don't think this team here, anyone will actually die. And do you need the skill up to increase the dead value increase, like you revive a unit, then you skill cooldown that unit by 2 turns because it's a dead unit, or the Underworld Flower to trigger to revive that unit? Not really, right? Because most of the time when you're using Beyontin in the PvE content, it's most likely you're gonna speed run, and usually in a speed run your unit won't die. So Beyontin here, I will say no skill up. Then the next one is Heinrich. So Heinrich here, when you're using Heinrich, is about the dispel. Other thing about Heinrich is just something additional bonus. So for example, let's take a look here. Heinrich, if you're going to use Heinrich, it's about speed running because of the debuff and also the dispel. And if you look at the S3, it's increase the multiplier, increase the crit damage boost of the last word stack to 30%. So previously is 20%, you increase up to 10%. But this crit damage here is for himself. So only if you make him as a sub DPS, then this skill up here matters. Then for example, like S1, increase the chance of dispelling to 50% is good, but 40% here is already good enough because the 40% dispel here applies to every single damage he do. For example, the S3 here does 3 damage, 3 hit. 3 hit here with 40% is actually high enough to dispel buff. So most of the time, Heinrich doesn't need any skill up to do his job, which is skill up, dispel. Unless you're making him in a sub DPS role and actually want him to do damage, then he needs the skill up. For most cases, when you're using him as a dispeller unit, then you don't really need the skill up Lattice on him. Then the next one is going to be Mia. So Mia here will be at max 1. So when you're using Mia in the content, I don't have Mia. Okay, so if you're using Mia in the content, is mostly it's going to be a store unit, right? You want a store team. You want the team to actually survive through the boss damage. Your team is probably going to be a lot of immunity, defend up, and heals. Then Mia will be, let's say Mia in Aurora, for example. Alright, if you have Ling Luo here already, you're scared not enough heal, then you're gonna put in Mia. So Mia S3 here, the heal actually plays an important role. So if you can increase the heal amount to 30%, and this 30% here is not the target's HP, is her own max HP. So if you actually make Mia very high HP, this percentage increase here is going to be very high. So the S3 here makes the most value about Mia, and also CD reduction by 1 turn. So the Mia S3 here is not about heal, it's also reduce all allies, enemies, and shell skill by 1 turn, extend all duration of the buff as well, and shorten all debuff. So the S3 here is not just about heal. If you reduce the turn by 1 turn, she able to rotate her S3 faster, so she able to heal your team faster, reduce all your team CD faster, extend the buff duration faster, and also reduce the debuff duration as well. So it plays a very important role. If you're playing Mia in a team, it will make things a lot more consistent in terms of providing healing and extending a buff. For example, imagine Mia and Chucky the Guard keep on rotating their skill an infinity loop. It will keep on extending your team debuff by very fast. Extend your team buff by very long. Chucky can extend the buff, then Mia can extend the buff. Then for example, if your team got Ling Luo, then Ling Luo can also extend the buff. Then Mia can CD reduction for the whole team. It will make a very good rotation. So Mia is worth the max 1. Lian. So Lian here is pretty funny. I will say Lian is not bad, but because Lian is a newbie character, so everyone want to reset her, so I will say no skill up. You will still see some players actually using Lian for specific content or PvP as well, but let's say in PvE, I will say 99 or 95% of you actually resetted your Lian, right, to get the Lattice, so no skill up. Alright, then this 3 unit here, I don't have their like this design because the original character or the original owner doesn't actually update the tier list anymore, so I added the 3 profile picture myself. This one is going to be Yeli. So Yeli is actually max all. So if you're going to use Yeli, and Yeli is kind of like Massiah that can be used in every single content in the game, you want to max her skill. She as a DPS, she needs the S1 attack stats, and which is the main DPS output from Yeli. She needs the S3 defense break, and also purified, and also the damage multiplier, and also the skill cooldown to pair with the revelation skill cooldown. And then most importantly is the passive follow-up attack rate. You don't want RNG with the arrow. You want the arrow to have a 100% chance to actually starting to reduce it. So S2 is important for the 100% chance. Defense break here, and also the S3 to sync with the revelation plays a very important role, because if you're using Yeli, you're going to use revelation, and then you're going to use Yeli in every single content is actually doable. And then the main DPS output S1 here. So if you're going to use Yeli, she's a very heavy invested Esper, animus, and she's going to need every single Lattice. So max all is needed. Then for Nahor, Nahor is a no to go. So no skill up for Nahor, because Nahor is not really that good. Okay, probably it's too early to give this answer, but I will still say Nahor is not really that good. So even if you skill up Nahor, alright, even if you skill up Nahor, I got Nahor, but from Perma Banner. Alright, Nahor here, even if you skill it up, the freeze is still going to be a 50-50 chance. It's still not going to be that consistent. Okay, defense break is good. I will say Nahor defense break is actually defense break chance is actually going to be good, because 70% chance, but the freeze is still 50-50 chance. Okay, then dispel here. Dispel here remove all buff from the target is a level 3, and then increase the chance of dispelling buff and inflicting bot to 70%. So 70% chance of dispelling is actually very good, and the AI is actually pretty smart to cast the S2. But this dispel unit can only apply on one target. So if we compare with other dispeller, for example like Viper can dispel, And Viper Dispel is actually every single unit because it's an AoE damage, it's an AoE Dispel. Alright, and it's a 75% chance to dispel 2 buff. And most of the content, at least for now, probably in the future they're gonna release a boss that makes Nahor actually stronger. But at least for now, the dispel 2 buff is actually all you need to do. And you want to dispel a lot of target. Right? Okay, then for example, freeze. Alright, because the other selling point about Nahor is freeze. So if we look at Kraken, S3, the freeze chance of Kraken here on S3, 35% chance, which is same as Nahor. And then if you skill him up, it's going to be 50% chance. So same chance of inflicting freeze as the SR unit and the SSR unit. They have the same chance of inflicting freeze, not to mention his kit here can also reduce turn meter and actually increase his freeze chance to 100% if the turn meter is actually clear. So in terms of freeze, so for example in Doki Doki, if you want consistent freeze, Kraken actually have a higher chance to freeze compared with Nahor. So for most cases now, Nahor is actually not looking too good. So overall, I will still rate Nahor at no skill at the moment, not worth at all. Then Fuqiu here is still gonna be no skill up. It's not because she is bad, it's just because she is so good that she doesn't need any skill up. Like my previous video, who should you summon like Fuqiu or Nahor? I already rated my thumbnail there with a tick on Fuqiu because I already know Fuqiu is going to be good and I know Nahor is not going to be good. So if you actually watch my previous video, who should you summon? I actually betted on the correct unit. Alright, so if you actually go for Fuqiu, you will actually be very good in most of the content because Fuqiu is a very universal healer that can put in every single content. And then the Lattice here is not needed. The turn meter she able to provide is actually already good, and then the shield amount here is something bonus, not really needed as well. But if you want to go for it, it's totally fine. Because you can see Lattice here, the skill up here is not locked behind the skill cooldown. Like the skill cooldown here is not locked behind the Lattice. The skill cooldown is already 4 turn. If you look at other healer, for example Ling Luo here, it's 5 turn on default. Then probably you want people want her to heal faster, then probably want to invest Lattice for the skill CD by 1 turn, right? But Fuqiu design is good, that is actually doesn't need to Lattice up to get the CD reduction. And then this one is something doesn't matter, 55% chance is good enough to proc it. And then the turn meter push here is not something needed as well, like 2% difference. You can't really feel the 2% difference. 10% difference and against the 6% difference. Not really that important as well. So overall, Fuqiu is a very good unit and that doesn't need any skill up at all as well. So this will be my tier list here for in terms of investing Lattice. This is based on PvE and then based on my own personal usage and my own perspective. So again, if you actually skip the in front of the analyze video until here, I will repeat one more time. The unit that I put it in no skill up doesn't mean they are bad. Probably they are just doesn't need the skill up at all to be good. Then max 1 is a unit that actually only need max only one skill to be max to be actually very good. Then max 2 here, they are either gonna max S1 or S2 or probably S1 or S3 to have a good combination. Then max all are the unit you kind of want to invest every single Lattice on them, since they are actually very universal and very important for every single skill they have. So hope this tier list here actually help those players who are still considering who should they actually invest their Lattice, and hope this video actually give you an idea who should they actually invest on. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed the video and see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Special thanks for the direct support on the YouTube membership. So for the benefactor of Artiar, which is Sky Elk, Trekhan, thank you so much for your support. And for the supporter or patron of Artiar, which is Louis Schneider, Agni, Wang Tamer, Ziggy, Kamaruki, Sunwaltz, Rimu, Chani, Antonio Winterspoon, Rocco Stenzions, thank you so much for your support. And also special thanks to the Super Tanks MVP, HMZ Rings, thank you so much for your support. Special thanks for the direct support on the live stream super chat for the latest 10. Thank you so much for Code Wilderness, Calamity, Agni, Love Fatima, Fatima Little Underwear, Bloods, Riku Fred, Chani. Thank you so much for your support.